You're watching EDFL Web TV from the Sporting Globe, 690 Mount Alexander Road in Moonee Ponds. And it's time to get into the wash-up, and we start with Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division. Adam, some big results. We talked about Greenvale versus Aberfeldy off the top. Let's flip it down to the bottom of the division, where the Northern Saints jumped from 10th to 8th with their inaccurate but ultimately pulling away victory from Pascoe Vale. A very important result as far as the relegation picture is concerned.
Yeah, really good after quarter time on Saturday to Northern Saints, and they did have to bounce back against Essendon due to Stars. But what was most pleasing for mine, Teo, is the turnaround from the round one result where they got done by Paco in their first game, obviously up in Premier. They've managed to turn that around second time around at home. So really important result for the Northern Saints, and it lifts them 2 spots above the bottom spot. So really good win for them, and they can set up the rest of their year now.
A bad loss for Maribyrnong Park, not so much that they were expected to win, but the percentage damage means that they did slip below the Northern Saints. Patrick Rose for Avondale Heights kicks 10 out of 20, and Avondale Heights continue on their merry way at the top of the league. But the real concern is Maribyrnong Park. They're getting players cleared out. They've got new players coming back from the VFL, and this rotating door that they've gone for this season, a lot of instability in the squad, no consistency week to week, and it really does seem to be taking its toll. The good news is there's a lot of quality there, so if they click on the day, they can pull off a win against a good team, not just the teams around them on the ladder. But all of a sudden, to avoid relegation, they're really going to have to focus on those key head-to-heads against the Northern Saints and Pascoe Vale.
Yeah, you're right. There is plenty of talent at Marby, of course, and but you know, when a lot of them are out, you like your Daniel Shebekius, who played quite well for Richmond VFL on the weekend. When they're out and not available, it makes for a very different prospect for Maribyrnong Park. So they are going to struggle there. They did have many out on the weekend, but yeah, they'll be worried now because they're second last and only a game on top of Essendon due to Stars, and their percentage is inferior to the Stars as well. So big second half of the year coming up for Marby to stay up in Premier.
It was only 1 week's grace for Essendon due to Stars. They're back on the bottom, and it's a similar story to what we've heard in previous games this year. Really competitive against a good team, and even in front at three-quarter time, but ultimately overrun by Strathmore in the final quarter. The Moors have blitzed some of the good teams. They've really been held and then pulled away late from some of the stragglers of the division, which is a kind of odd thing that's happened this season. We don't doubt Strathmore's quality because they've got it done against the quality sides in the division, but once again they have to produce a late flurry to beat Essendon due to Stars. And the Stars, well, their percentage is good. That's the only good news out of this loss, but it does leave them a game clear on the bottom of the division.
Yeah, they're outright last now, Teo, led by 9 points at three-quarter time before Strathmore hit their straps, and they're a very difficult proposition at home, of course, Strathmore. Pretty big month coming up for Essendon due to Stars. It's make or break for them. They get Aberfeldy this weekend at Nipper Jordan Oval, and if you're going to get Aberfeldy, now's probably the right time, with Aberfeldy obviously having so many question marks hanging over their heads.
It was 100 points last time. Will another honourable close loss cut it? Can Dudas actually get over the line and win one of these games much the same way that Northern Saints was able to finish the job when they had them Aberfeldy in a position where they could go on and win?
When I said make or break, I did mean over the next month or so. I don't think this weekend is going to be that crucial clash. Obviously, they prefer to win, but if they don't, after that Pascoe Vale, they go to Keilor, Maribyrnong Park. That is their run. If they can win 2 of those games, they probably, especially that Maribyrnong Park game, they could well survive Essendon due to Stars. So after they get over the Aberfeldy hurdle, it's go time for Essendon due to Stars.
Now, in the middle of the table, Keilor pulled off a vital win. It keeps them in the top 4 for another week. They were 2 goals down in red time against Airport West and kicked 3 late goals in a flurry, including Andrew Brown, who kicked the match winner, which sailed through the posts as the siren sounded. So they couldn't have left it much later than they did. It was very nearly a draw, and Airport West now, surely their finals chances are gone. And Keilor stay in the top 4 for another week, but they'll be nervously looking over their shoulder at Greenvale. The good news for them is that Aberfeldy, of course, lost, so perhaps their chances of finishing 3rd improve, even though the battle for top 4 spots got a whole lot closer. How do you read this result for the Blues?
Yeah, it's about right. They were behind for a lot of the day against Airport West, and then Andrew Brown produced what was probably the biggest kick in in recent EDFL history since Matty Smith winner in 2012 in the 2012 grand final. That's how big that goal was, because it's we'll look back at the end of the season if Keilor do get into finals, and they'll probably look back at this Airport West game and say that was probably the moment that got them in. That's how big that goal was. They're chugging along okay. They get the Northern Saints this weekend at home, so they can really consolidate that top 4 spot, and they just need to win those kind of games. They can't afford to drop the games they should be expected to win from now on, and they should be right, Keilor.
That's it for the wash-up of Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division. And now we take it into Essendon Forward Division 1, where we had 4 very interesting results at the weekend. Some of them weren't close, but that doesn't make them any less interesting as far as the ladder goes and also the relegation battle. We have to start with Craigieburn, their second win of the season at Hadfield's expense. They have an awful percentage that is a long way shy of the 3-win teams in the division, but the good news for Craigieburn is they are up to 2 wins, and all of a sudden there'll be a few nervous sides looking over their shoulder, none more so than Oak Park, who, even though they do have a much better percentage, are on the same number of wins as the Eagles.
Yeah, and based on form right now, I reckon the Eagles might be just tracking on a little bit better than the Kangaroos. Nick Fletcher kicked 3 goals, and he's in form, the forward for Craigieburn at the moment. So if he can keep firing in some of these games where they're going to be a chance to win, then look out, because Craigieburn are probably going to survive, but it's a 4-horse race at the moment, this relegation battle, Teo, which is what makes it so fascinating. There's none of these sides, Hadfield, Hillside, Oak Park, Craigieburn, are safe. So big second half of the year. And
well, we need to talk about Hillside, because it's another huge loss. We've speculated over the last couple of weeks that they've hit the wall. Their percentage is now starting to take a battering. The question is, can they rally and at least win a head-to-head against Oak Park or against Craigieburn to pull back away from the bottom of the table?
Yeah, I was on Hillside's bandwagon at the start of the year, and one thing I will guarantee you, Teo, they'll get the 4 points this weekend because they've got the bye. So it comes at a good time for Hillside. They only kicked 4 goals in this game. That's what's really, really concerning for them. I know that Tullamarine, obviously a highly potent side, and 11 goals between Kent and Mangan. They're very, very hard to beat, Tulla, especially at home. But yeah, Hillside after the bye, they'll want to get it right and get it right quickly, because they get Taylors Lakes and West Meadows. They're both in the top 4 at the moment, Glenroy and Craigieburn after that. So every single game absolutely vital now for Hillside. They've got to get it right. West
Coburg, they had a shootout win against Oak Park. We know that is how they like to play. Digby Morell has been preaching defence though, and the one game against their fellow premiership contender Tullamarine was a low-scoring slog and only 1 point the difference. Tulla, as you've mentioned there, could have probably won by more than the 93 points that they did. They didn't kick perfectly straight, 19 goals, 16. So do we just have to wait until they play second time around? It seems like they're far too good for the rest of the division. They're blowing up their opposition with huge scores. It's almost like Hawthorn and Geelong. We don't really know who's better until they play each other.
Yeah, you're right. There was only 1 point separating them the first time around at Leo Deneen, and they'll go to Shore Reserve in 3 weeks' time. That is going to be one of the biggest clashes of the year when they meet again, West Coburg and Tullamarine, and you can't split them. Only 1 point has split them so far, and they've both been brilliant. So absolutely crucial clash in 3 weeks' time. Can't see them dropping any games in the lead up to that either.
Let's go to the best of the rest, and it was just 1 goal the difference, and perhaps typically when 2 closely matched teams find each other in this division, it was a low-scoring game rather than a high-scoring shootout. West Meadows well in front at three-quarter time in a low-scoring slog and having enough on the board to hold off the Taylors Lakes comeback by a goal in the final quarter. We spoke to Dave Connell on EDFL Web TV last week, and he spoke about the off-season recruits and the ambitions to close the gap on the top 2, but they had to take care of business first against Taylors Lakes, and they really have solidified their spot in the finals for now, and potentially their hold on third, given the huge clash coming up between Taylors Lakes and Glenroy this weekend. We'll leave that for the preview. I want to get your thoughts on where West Meadows are at now.
Yeah, they had to get the win. Obviously, one thing they haven't really done so far this year is, I suppose, deliver against some of the better teams in the division. They've been very, very good, West Meadows, but I felt like this was a game they had to win to really announce themselves as a finals contender, and they did that, albeit in ugly fashion. But it was only about the W. It does have to be said that Taylors Lakes did have a few out. They certainly weren't at full strength, but they're faltering a bit at the moment, Taylors Lakes. they're not consistent enough to really be pushing the Tullamarines and West Coburgs of the world. So they want to just get their form right in the second half of the year. So that's we all expect them to play finals, but they're not really. They're going to be one and done if they don't get some things right in the second half of the year and perhaps get a few guys back in the side as well.
That's it for the wash-up in Essendon for Division 1. And now we finish the wash-up with Division 2, where perhaps we had two of the biggest results of the season. It's hard to believe. We're getting division-changing results every weekend across the leagues. We're getting huge surprises, and none more so than Jacana, not just beating, but absolutely smashing East Keilor. And in many ways, it's hidden the fact that Keilor Park had a real landmark win against an underwhelming Coburg Districts. Let's start with Jacana. What a result, what a huge score, and it really does put them in the mix for the top 4.
Unbelievable result, Teo. This was an incredible game of football. It was nobody was expecting Jacana to do what they did to East Keilor, and I think what it means, Teo, Division 2 right now is the new Division 1. It's that unpredictable, it's that exciting, and it's good to see considering last year was probably a bit of a letdown with just how good Hillside were. And now all of a sudden everyone's talking about Division 2 and just how incredible this finals race is at the moment. Even though you've got your clear favourites in Roxburgh Park, all of a sudden there's a lot of other finals contenders, and Jacana are one of them. That can't be underestimated. That's one of the big talking points of the year.
Truth be told, I did pick Jacana for the top 4. You picked Keilor Park. And I don't think either of us really believed in our prediction through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, but all of a sudden they're playing each other for that 4th spot.
Yeah.
It is actually, even though we had a hunch and flagged it at the start of the year, hard to believe that it's actually eventuating this way, and Moonee Valley, with their mammoth percentage, are sitting in 6th.
Massive game, Keilor Park, Jacana. We can't wait to get a look at that one this weekend, Teo. And yeah, Jacana, they've won 4 in a row. That's quite an incredible run that they've got at the moment, and they are 4 out of 5 for Keilor Park as well. And that loss was to Roxburgh Park, and it was only 28 points that day. So they're in very, very good form as well, Keilor Park right now. The knocker has been on them whether they get the job done in the big games and when it matters. They've done that in the last 2 weeks. They beat Moonee Valley, they beat Coburg Districts, and now they get Jacana. If they can walk away from that 3-game stretch with the 3 W's, then all of a sudden they put themselves back into perhaps not only the finals race, but maybe still they're a sneaky chance in the premiership race, because we just don't know if Roxburgh Park are going to be able to hold it up for the rest of the year.
Well, let's finish with Roxburgh Park. Obviously, they were expected to beat East Sunbury, and they did so comfortably. But now that we have more teams coming good, Moonee Valley, of course, were the closest to them in the first set of head-to-head games as far as the margin goes. But now we've got Jacana coming good, we've got Keilor Park coming good. Does this make it even more difficult for Roxburgh Park to keep this unbeaten run going?
Maybe not difficult, but certainly it creates a lot more interest, and they just want to keep on chugging along at the moment. Roxy, congratulations to Matt Mickelson. He kicked 6 on the weekend, which put him above the half-ton. He's got 53 for the year now, so congratulations to you, Matty, on clocking up the half-ton. They'll be okay, Roxy. I reckon they've got enough wins in the book, obviously. They do want to finish on top of the ladder, but whether they can go 18-0, maybe 17-1 like Hillside last year, I'm not so sure. They got Moonee Valley, Coburg Districts, Jacana, and the return game against East Keilor coming up in that block. They probably will drop one of them, Teo, but if they do, they won't mind. I still think they're okay. They're still the favourite, especially with East Keilor dropping off the way they have. But big second half of the year coming up for Roxy, and a chance for some of these other clubs, especially with East Keilor coming down now, to start challenging. That's it for the wash-up. We move on now to the preview for round 11, right here at the Sporting Globe, 690 Mount Alexander Road in Moonee Ponds. Stay with us on EDFL Web TV.